in that conversation of this person sharing, in that conversation of this person sharing, myself and a number of other people in the field recognized that what was upon him was that he was actually in the activity of creation in writing a template 6, but was trying to configure it into a template 1. And so we brought it forward as, if you're in that relationship, in that activity, take those imagining and seeking and ing words and let it just unfold naturally and innately, because that's your being. And so one of the things that we really conversed about is, how do you enter into the templates themselves? As what is innate to you may be a template 6, and what is innate to somebody else may be a template 1 or a template 3. In the moment that you find yourself in, where do you locate the template that you're in relationship to? So it was such a vibrant and freeing conversation. And it's all about the full scope of the templates. And I think that's where we got recognition that there's a lot of different ways to be in relationship to the templates. And while it may be one specific template that you connect to in the moment, there's also what we call the running of the templates. And we asked Tantra to come in and share with us. Actually, she asked to come in and share with us. I should say it that way. To come in and share with us how running the templates operate.
I was demanding. I wasn't
Go,
requesting.
a little.
I was being my pushy self because I felt the power of the creation templates upon me. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay, but because of that, there was this idea that there was a place in time that this could land, and so this was the perfect moment. So I think creation was interacting and in relationship with all three of us. So I think it's like you said to me recently, the right problem to have.
I concur. Anything else? You want me to go?
Over to you.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, it's amazing to live in, I'm listening to this book. It's called, the first word's Mastery of a Life. I can't remember the rest of it. But it's about a martial arts specialist that has a discussion about mastery, and to put it in a very simple terms, we don't live to master our life. We live to survive our life. And the creation templates were basically given to me over 20 years ago now for these times. But in listening to this book, which I normally wouldn't listen to, but we're literally in times of constructing new realities. But listening to it, he talked about how we want the quick fix, and we noticed it's not really working. You know, that we have more disease, we have more depression, we have more war, we have more conflict, and that he's basically saying, bottom line, that there's a distinction between trying to get something handled quickly, and it's kind of an egoic phenomenon of a broken system, and really feeling yourself as a master, not over life, but with life. So that really pinged me. And so I'm going to try to do a brief review. It's not going to be easy. The reason I brought it up is those of us sitting here with you have been in a persistent conversation almost 12 years. And so there's something we feel fluid in that has become the background that gives the foreground of our life. And to be able to draw it out and bring it to you in small doses is actually pretty difficult. It's actually pretty difficult. But listening to this book, audible book, I realized that I've always been interested in, I used to say, Barbara Marx Hubbard said, we're all godlings in the Garden of Creation. And I've always known that human beings were miraculous and that we carry within us templates to generate paradise, i.e. the creation templates. And I also knew that 90% of the humanity is in recovery from traumas that have existed for a long time. But there are a small amount of human beings that even in the face of their trauma, even in the face of their own recovery, are realizing they may be designers of new worlds. And their designers of new worlds are rising in these templates that are the language of creation within their own system. So what Victoria just shared is this person whose name we don't have permission to say, this person was really struggling authentically with something because the level of consciousness he was in, because the templates, the 7 templates are 5 levels of consciousness. If you think of a spiral, each template is just a different loci on a spiral and the turn of the spiral. And it isn't really, we think in layers. And this morning in a conversation with Victoria, I was talking about, look at a spiral, look at my finger. And if you see that spiral in the air, there is a so below, a so above, always. There's always something moving to the next greater inclusionary pattern or the next greater whole. And the templates cover 7 levels of recursions of a spiraling matrix of creation based in the golden mean. So when this person said this to Victoria, they could hear, because they've been living it for so long, that he was in that moment in time, he was moving with creation, which is template 6. That's how you identify how to, when human beings sit down to think, they don't have the right system of thinking to think with. And what the creation templates provide is the right system of thinking to think with. We're in our so above, so below natures, in our both and natures. And we have been caught in the below and not able to think with the above, except in chanting and mantras and meditation. But our little noggin here is actually designed to think in so below, so above. It's actually designed to. So that's the first thing I want to bring up. But the second thing, you just got to grok it. It's really important when you come into these conversations with the LOC Institute, which is taken care of. It's the home for the templates. It's the home. They have been developing themselves in the 7 levels of consciousness. It isn't like they're giving you a product. It's that they're giving you a living world. And we're not used to listening a living world. We're used to listening product and service. But a living world is the ancient way we began. We all began to live something. We all began to live paradise. We all began to live the greater whole of which we're a part. And then we developed systems and we developed structures that allowed us to maintain that here on this planet. And she also is designed from that same system, the golden spiral. She designed herself from that system. I don't want to take that away from her. But the other thing I know isn't grokkable, but when I came to this planet, I was aware that the system of paradise had collapsed. And everything is a system. Ecology is a system. The internet is a system. How we use that system and what it's for is pretty important to understand, because some systems operate against life and some systems operate with life and on behalf of life. And once upon a time, we didn't have the other kind of thinking. We didn't think for and against. We didn't think either or. We really did think in systems of both and. We really, really did, I promise. And the creation templates restore that. So we live in a living field. It's kind of a culture of consciousness that a lot of us have been swimming in its waters for quite a while now. And things happen in those waters that we can't relay. We can't translate from those waters to how people normally think or how the world normally occurs. We just can't. Because the consciousness that we're moving with is a consciousness of the experiential state of when we feel creation and we feel ourselves in it and we feel ourselves with it and we feel ourselves with it operating on behalf of us and us operating on behalf of it. So in our cultural group that's been around for a while, if you think of a spiral, and Liz and I did this in one of the Uncreate a World, it's the one that has the I, you, we, they, it image, if you want to go there and watch it, which I recommend, because the ability to self-discover is really mandatory right now. People can feed you all the information that you can look for, and a lot of people look for a lot of information. But for you to take it on as you are the authority, you are the most important piece of the puzzle, and you're developing your self-awareness and your consciousness of self. That's you. That's on you. That's on you now. So Jesus said, look, I sacrifice for you. You do the rest. Take it on now. But in our group, what happens when you begin to restore this collapsed field? It's a bunch of broken matrices. Imagine a gigantic jungle gym that suddenly crashed. Just imagine. And you can watch Inception. It gives you a really good idea of this. But imagine that you start to build it back, and you build it back energetically. And you don't build it back physically. You build it back non-physically, spiritually, energetically, etherically, all those terms. But as it begins to build back, what has something collapse is the heaviness of the top falls in on the bottom. And if the bottom isn't strong enough, it collapses all the way down to the bottom. But as you begin to build back as reality that operates on behalf of life and has this exist as whole begins to build back, you run into the broken pieces of the matrix. Disease is one of those. War is another. You think it's people-centric. It isn't. It's a condition of a collapsed field. We can't get back to ourselves. We can't get back to our relationship with each other. We can't get back to our relationship with the creation of which we're a part. That's a collapsed field. So in our group, I was observing, because it's all about observing. I was observing that in the parameters of two human beings' worlds, there was illness and injury. Now, we're people-centric, so we think it's about them. I know the New Age stuff. What had you caused that? Bullshit. If we could really cause, we wouldn't have the world we have now. So there's something very faulty in that thought. But what we can do through the creation exercises and the creation templates is inform the field. And then the field of creation takes on the info, like you give it the manual. And it says, okay, this is where something needs to build. Thank you for informing me. Remember, the creation runs an entire universe. So we're the informers, like prayer. We're the informers. It gets the memo and it begins to respond. So there's a lot of illness and injury now. Part of it's war, part of it's just the physical world is, when we think of the physical world falling apart, we think it means, I don't know what we think it means, to be quite honest with you, but we don't think it means that everything, the systems are falling apart. We don't listen that way. We listen circumstances falling apart or things falling apart. No, the systems are collapsing. When systems have collapsed, you have war and you have disease and you have hatred, you have hostility, you have terror, you have depression. I could go on and on and on. Futility, loneliness, isolation, hopelessness, despair. Need I go on? Because we remember a system that didn't have that. We wouldn't have it if this was normal. If what we're in now is normal, we wouldn't be upset. I promise. We wouldn't even know. We just think it's normal. We'd be busy sucking blood out of each other's neck or something and just thinking that was what we did for the day. But it's not how it's going. So with the creation templates and being in a coherent, cohesive, congruent field, which is creation, I suggested to these two people, they run the templates, and which is what I came on, I wanted to share it in the LOC Institute. But mainly because they are template, they write creation exercises. So they're familiar. And the same way Victoria was talking about, she could hear the person was in template 6, which is about moving with creation. I could hear that they were, imagine it with me, that the 7 levels of consciousness are like 7 turns of the spiral. That's the way to think it, 7 turns of the spiral. And if it is collapsed, and it's part of the fundamental collapse, war, disease, injury, then the physical system of the body is breaking down. The physical system of the relationship of the world, in other words, car wrecks, tripping down the stairs, that's the world outside of you, that's breaking down. War, the collective breaking down. So that's when we run the templates, when it's one of the fundamental breakdowns, when something fundamentally we're in, and it's as you move, as the matrix, the spiraling matrix is restored, the thing I think I referred to, interrupt me if I didn't say it this way, but I was talking to Victoria this morning, we get to the tattered edges of creation, of human creation. We get to its tattered edges. So these two people are indicators, what they're experiencing, because they're very etheric beings, what they're experiencing is part of these tattered edges. And there's a phrase, we didn't coin the phrase, but if not you, who? So we have run from what we're afraid of, run, go hide, don't deal. But if we really knew ourselves as creation, we go, wow, I'm here, let me deal with it. I'm here. It's, people ask me what I do about things, and I said, when it shows up in front of me, I'll be glad to tell you. But until then, it's not my business. We make everything our business, but we never deal with the business right in front of us. We never deal where we're located in creation, that we're operative. We are the operation of creation where we are standing. We don't have to go anywhere. And those of us that have been doing the creation templates for a long time, it's just a norm. It's just natural now. It isn't like we got, I don't know how to say it. We didn't become saints or anything. We're just everyday people that we have the capacity to influence the field where we're standing, not by trying to do anything, but by restoring the matrix within which reality can occur. So why I asked him to run the templates is because their relational fields are dealing with the tattered edges. And the tattered edges are war, disease, depression, hopelessness, isolation, as a we or they, not as an I. And so when you start to run the templates, you're taking care of territory. You're taking care of a territory of human existence within which something has to restructure itself to be held so that certain things don't break down anymore. Certain things don't. Disease is the breakdown of a system. Injury is the breakdown of a system of life. War is the breakdown of a system of life. And then the last thing I want to say is I want to give some credibility to what I said. Years and years ago, long before the Institute started, I gathered a group of people together because 2 journalists were not only incarcerated in North Korea, the odds were good, they were women, was they wouldn't come out alive. And to date, nobody had that was incarcerated in this prison. No journalist had ever come back out. So a group of us got together and we ran the templates. Remember the tattered edges I talked about? This was a tattered edge of, how you know the tattered edge of reality is because it looks impossible. That's a tattered edge. It's like, because we can't find what makes it go beyond that. And that's what the creation templates provide. So we ran them. We all ran them. There were 12 of us. We ran them. 2 days later, they were both released unharmed. So I don't take my time for trivial matter. Although I did go see Dumbledore and last night, which I totally recommend. And make sure that you've gone to the bathroom before, and that because you're going to laugh so hard in one part of it, that if you haven't gone to the bathroom, your pants could be at risk. So it isn't like I'm separate from life. I'm very involved with life. In fact, I'm very involved with life itself, which is the actual true nature of a human being. And life is not circumstance. Life is the ability to be present as a partner with creation, operating on behalf of creation, creation operating on behalf of you, and you and creation operating on behalf of life. That's the deal. Yeah, I think that's what I want to share. That's what I wanted to bring to the party. And so for those, I have one more thing. So honest to goodness, you should use the Institute. I'm not advertising. In fact, if you listen to that book, I can't remember the name of, I'll have them put it up on the Institute page once I have my other mind available to me. But it's so imminent right now that we need creators. We need people restoring the matrix of life itself through our energetic or our spirit-based being, so that our unity with creation can go past these places we're caught as people. It was never ours to do. It was always ours just to return to our basic relationship with creation. And we have all sorts of ways to say that. And one of the things I said to Victoria this morning is what a hard conversation this is to have. Because I'm going to say New Age, and I apologize if it insults the New Age, but in the New Age step, you're a cause, you're the problem, we're the problem. And that people have illness. Do you know people used to have to sit in the back of the church if they were ill? Because they couldn't be close to God, because they had somehow sinned against God. That's inside our cellular memory. And when I said to the first person, I think you ought to run the templates, bless her heart, because she contacted me immediately. And she said, I don't think you mean this, like I caused this. That's the first thing she said to me. You don't mean that I'm responsible for this. I said, no, I don't. But it's where you're standing. And I think creation has said to you, look, this is where you're standing. Build back the matrix of creation within which new realities can rise. And she completely got it. And she was off and running. But look what we have against us. We're scared to trust our own thinking. We're scared to do the creation exercises, just the same way people are scared to do consults with me. They think I'm going to tell them how horrible they are. That we don't realize that we're the effect of the broken matrix and the type of belief systems and the type of blame against humanity that we're still promoting, by the way. And the creation exercises take that out of the equation in our being and in our mind. I think I can get off my podium now.
Tantra, I'd love to respond to the tattered edges. And it took me back to last year when I spent the entire year unpacking and running the templates on restore, recover, and reconfigure of my own physical being that was moving through physical illness into a deeper strength, stamina, capacity for my own physical being and well-being. And it's exactly, I see the evidence of this year, of doing that last year, of running the templates and really taking my time to observe and be with and not feel rushed by being with myself in the whole process, and it gives me the place in myself now that I feel my strength, stamina, capacity beyond where it was prior to the physical being collapsing. So I'm really appreciating the conversation of the lived experience of running the templates on my beingness as a physical being. It informed my etheric being too. So I'm like, yes, I have evidence for it. And so then it's an invitation to anyone else to run the templates in whatever way that they're called to, whether it's physical being or something within the culture that they're drawn to, that you can gain your own access through the running of the templates. So thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said, because your physical outside looks pretty much the same as it did before. So people don't have physical look at you evidence, but they should with me. I definitely look reborn. And I ran the templates when I thought I was dying, and ran them when I couldn't even walk to a tree. Because we have this old phrase when we had a direct relationship with creation, we used to say, I'm curling up inside my God, because it was a God that could be trusted with us, not blame us for what had happened here. And but to curl up inside the creation exercises, I could feel something holding me, holding my fragility. And so when we talk about their direct link with creation, this is the part we don't share with people. We make it very technical, but this is what we experience. Experience we're being held by something that knows how to put us back together. And the other part of it is that then our own intelligence, but the body's a very intelligent creature. And the creation exercises, it's a so above, so below the cravings of the body. The observings are the cravings are the physical, the observings are the non-physical. And they begin to chat, like you just said it. They inform each other. And so I ended up with a kick butt heart doctor, kick butt endocrinologist, kick butt heart clinic gym, for heaven's sakes, that dealt with COVID patients as well as heart conditions. I mean, those live in the miraculous. Well, the miraculous is designed to be our norm, not normal, but our norm. It's our paradise. And it isn't a function of my ego. It's not a function of my individual personality. It's a function of curling back up into my relationship with creation and its relationship with me. And that's a foundational thing that the templates do. So, I think there are two things that, this is why we persist. It's why we persisted all these years. And because not for mastery, to have dominance over something, but to give something back its place here. To give the relationship between human beings and creation a place again. Because that is paradise. That is the magic. That is the wonder of it all. And I'm very clear, and I've been clear for years. It's what makes me emotional nowadays. For the first time, I can hear in the tissue of human being, I can hear its spirit again. I can hear its spirit. And I can hear that the body itself, which is the unity of spirit and flesh, or matter and energy, I can hear the intelligence of creation rising in it again. And then using the creation templates and being in community and being in conversations regarding the intelligence that rises in them, like you all do, then we begin to be part of a working system that we've literally been denied, that we've literally been shut off from. And human beings come at things like they should know. How if we had known, we wouldn't have the world we have. If we'd been able, this wouldn't be going on. Something broke us. And it's not just restoring the matrices of reality within which paradise can rise, it's restoring ourselves. so that we get to be our paradisal selves again and be able to handle the cultural collapse that's going on in a way that we follow the threads of something into our new beginnings. Capiche?
This is beautiful. As you've been talking, I've been going back in time to when I first began running the templates, and the word for me that's really coming up that I've built a relationship with is trust. Trust in myself and trust in creation. And running the templates, I love how you said curling up. How did you phrase that? Curling up within my God, or
Yeah, curling up inside them.
inside? Yes. Just being with self and creation during the moments that we write. I'm actually looking at a picture of a cup of cocoa. There's just, I'm getting goosebumps. There's nothing like that time with yourself and creation. It's so nurturing and important in these times for me. I know I'm not mandating this for anyone else. However, I know for me, contracting this time with creation, especially right now, is really important.
I concur.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to also add, because I wasn't in the conversation that Victoria is referring to, Victoria and Liz are referring to. I wasn't in the conversation. But Liz and I, going back to that Create a World we did, that I, you, we, they, it. And it also came up in Timeless Time that we just completed, a global group of us just completed. What I think we don't realize that we're not where we were because we're so circumstance driven. We just look to see if things are working or not working. That's about the limitation of our perception, highly indoctrinated perception. But if I were speaking to this person, and this may have been said, so I'm not instructing Victoria or Liz. I'm just saying it to you all that was listening. More than likely what happened is this person was reflecting on themselves. And the truth is they do move with creation. It's very evident. If you met them, you'd go, oh, he moves with creation. It's very simple. However, what has not happened with the person is the connectivity with others in the field, the ability to, in his movement with creation, to fulfill on a craving he has for others. So then his craving template would not be for himself. His template one would be craving world peace, craving people hear my dance, craving people, that's why you run them, because every level of the 7 templates takes care of the I, takes care of the we, takes care of the it, takes care of the they, it takes care of whatever you crave. And I know another New Age fallacy, because there was also some great stuff. It was the beginning of where we are now. But another fallacy was that you can't crave for others. Well, we're a symbiotic species. We can't help but crave for others. That's like saying don't care about your children. Or if you're a teacher like Liz, don't care about your students. Or if you're a yoga teacher like Victoria, don't care about your participants. I mean, it's like so stupid. And one of the reasons we built the Field of Tantra Maat, which is an operational field, I carry the name because I got sculpted by it, but the field is distinct from me and will be around long after I'm gone as a person, because it carries principles that once carried paradise here, and it carries a perception, it carries what to pay attention to, it carries an operating state. So when you do the creation templates, they're wherever you're paying attention. That's why I said to these two women, I think you should run the templates. But, craving health, craving what health is for me is, because when you're in, craving being healthy, or craving being with my family, being healthy, or craving being with my world, being healthy. There's ways you use the templates to, at every, whatever your concern is, wherever you're paying attention. And because that's your direct link with creation, you are in communication with creation. You are informing the field. And when the larger field of which you're a part is informed, it responds. And it responds. There's no difference. I don't even think I've ever said this. I know you all have never heard this. Do you know that there's absolutely no difference to the power of creation, whether it's an individual or a collective? There's no difference. We have to use a lot of energy, we think, to take care of the collective, and not as much to take care of the I, but for creation, it's just a piece of creation. There's no hierarchy. There's no more. There's no collective. There's just the structure within which creation occurs. So that's why I knew when we ran those templates for those two reporters, it was just like taking care of one person across the street. Even if it was moving a whole world. To creation, that's nothing. Faith can move mountains. That's creation. There's no difference between the climber climbing the mountain and the mountain. Both can be moved. And it takes the same amount of energy. Or maybe none with creation. We're still trying to figure that out. Maybe it's just a state of being. Anyway, I've never said that before, I realize. So I just did. Funny.
That's pretty powerful. I never considered that.
Yeah, the thinking, we operate in a hierarchical model. Bigger is harder. More is harder. It's not harder. It's just a template of creation. We're getting there.
Yeah, I love that technical aspect of that. Yeah, if you can, I mean, there's
I'm thinking,
go ahead.
oh, okay. I'm thinking about it in terms of how we are in fields with one another, small groups in the larger group, and how we inform each other within those fields, informing creation. So creation experiences us as the field, whether we're a particleized version of it or the whole field. There's no separation, is what I hear from that.
Yeah, and how I developed the coherency that now WhatsApp and Tapatalk and LOC live in. How I developed that coherency was in the spirals of being. We had the creators, and we had the minders that held the creators, and then we had the architects that held the minders and the creators. And that principle of oneness in different dynamics of existence, that's how creation occurred. That's how it perceives itself as one. You just got to point the direction that you want it to go. It doesn't consider the numbers. That's like what's his name? David, I never remember his name. Power versus force. He's the more you go up in the frequency matrix, in David Hawkins, in his power versus force model, the higher the frequency, the more, which is coherence, the more the coherence, cohesion, and congruence of a living field, less impact more. It only takes a small, and what Barbara Marx Hutter says is, it only takes a small, coherent group of people to shift the whole world. So we think we have to go out there and enroll everybody in what we think is real. No, we don't. If we take care of reality, we're just taking care of reality. We're just taking care of how we dream it can operate, how we dream it for all people, not the circumstances. One of the things also, Liz, that Victoria and I were talking about, you're talking about the purpose of all of us in the field of Tantra Maat is to keep building the spiral out until it's a whole, has a whole restoration, for me, not for you all, but for me specifically, it's so human beings remember their direct link with creation by the time I die, like it's a common normalcy. And we're building towards that. But that remembering of our direct link with creation has so many variables. It can be anything. There are people that really, really do feel Allah. There are people that really do feel the Christian God. There are people that really do feel Buddha. Well, that's just like creation. For creation, it's all one. But each of us has, and I said to Victoria, as an individual, we all have a unique and essential language of creation. As a group, we have our unique and essential language of creation. As whatever our direct link with the powers of forces of creation that operated on behalf of life here, there's a groups of us that have those unique and essential connections to those different domains, but they're all an expression of life. They're all expressing on behalf of life. And just like we like different music, just like we like to do different things. It's just as simple. But to actually, I was saying to Victoria this morning, and why I really just had to get my mouth open and yap right now, is because it really blows my mind when I actually see the physical representation of it actually occurring. It really does, in truth, produce an emotional moment for me. And that's what we were discussing this morning, that emotional moment.
Love that. That's what it's all about. As we're learning a new field,
Yeah.
the emotions within our language are so important. And bringing that into the creation exercises. And I mean, as you were talking, I can see all these webs, because we each have our direct links, and they spread all over the world and beyond. And we're coming to feel the spiraling of that. And it's just really exciting.
Yeah, and I really think for me, the Institute is a learning vehicle, a new learning vehicle, like Newfield. It is a new learning vehicle. It's a vehicle that steps out of the pandemic of separation. And it's a vehicle that restores the mind that lets us live in unity with ourselves, others, and life. So it's a beautiful learning institute, new learning institute. And then the culture of the field of Tantra Maat, it's very directional. It's not vague. I'm very clear that all of us that move together with me, we're moving on behalf of a cultural response. We're moving on behalf of the restoration of a culture of creation that operates where we operate in unity with each other, distinct and unique, but not separated. And all the way to our relationship with the powers and forces of creation, whatever we hold us to be. And, that was my mission at 3 years old, one I thought I would not achieve, because it would take it being present in the field of humanity. And I guess that's another kind of exciting moment in time for me today. It is remarkable how present it is in the field of humanity compared to even a year ago. It is remarkable. I am now